Hello startups and hello Namibia and the world. It's that time of the week again. We are here at the studio of Basecamp. It's that time of Campfire, episode 10. My name is Absai Haidua. I'm joined by Helena Amuelo. She's our sign language interpreter. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, we're gonna learn a lot from tonight's show. I hope you have your notebooks ready, and we'll carry on with the show. Before we start, we are practicing our social distancing. So we remove our masks so we can also speak freely. All right, tonight's show, we're talking about when to do how to partner up or form collaborations, and also how to do pricing and costing. We are joined in the studio by Martin. He's not new to our show. So Martin, welcome back to our show, and we're happy to have you again.
Thank you very much, Absai. It's good to be back.
Great. Right, before we start with our show, or before we start to unpack what we really maybe brought, or what you brought to us, could you maybe just, for those that didn't watch our episode 3, maybe just to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Okay. Thank you, Absai. My name is Martin Wilkinson. I've lived in Namibia now for about 23 years. I came as a volunteer to Rundu to work on Rundu Water Project, which was also a small business in itself.
Yeah.
And then I worked with Lux Development in Rundu Hospital for about 3 years, doing hospital maintenance.
Yeah.
So I've got a technical background with a little bit of business.
Right.
And then I opened my own business as well, renting marquee tents, doing event management and that sort of thing. But when all the tents were rented, we tried everything else. So we used to make paving stones, we used to do welding, we used to make garage doors and sliding gates and anything else that would bring some money in. So, and now I'm working with GIZ as a senior technical advisor with Namibia Training Authority, and we are working out apprenticeships and different training modalities for the Vocational Training Centre. So my job here is to try and bring technical skills, entrepreneurial skills, and young people all together to try and boost our economy and get us out of the COVID crisis, but not single-handed.
Well, that's excellent, and I think it's also good news for startup, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Maybe also what be before now we start we really to go into details of our topic, which is when to partner up. It's actually a packed show, so we're gonna start with partnerships and collaborations in business. So maybe you can take us through in the first points, please.
Okay, I think in the first episode we ran through a lot of elements of the business plan, and we spoke a bit about partnering then, and it created some interest, and even in other shows, I think with the WAMA show last week as well, people were talking about partnering. So I thought, I don't have the exact answers, but I can give you the benefit of my opinion sometimes, and also I did a bit of searching in preparation. So essentially,
also, just before you maybe start, I just want to know what is really the difference between collaboration and a partnership?
Okay, that's a good question. I think maybe I'll answer it as I go through.
Okay, great.
But a partnership could be more formal, that you agree with somebody, whether you know them or you don't know them, or they bring a certain set of skills to be a part of the business, like they bring something.
Yeah.
But a collaboration might be, and I've got some other terminology for it in our presentation, but it could also be that it's not about money, but it's a win-win situation for two people. So I don't know, the viewers can even write in, they can give comments about what they think the difference between the collaboration is and partnership. But I would say a partnership is probably more formal, and the collaboration is like when two singers get together and they do a collaboration, Beyonce and Ed Sheeran or whatever, then they do it for artistic benefit, isn't it? And to test each other. So maybe the collaboration, there's something that comes out of it that they're both looking for, whereas the partnership, they're both trying to stand together and go forward and drive a business together.
Excellent. All right. Now, I hope you have your notebooks with you. So we're going to start now. It's now time to learn from Martin.
It's going to be busy and fast, I'm afraid.
Yes, please, Martin, please take us through.
I think the point of these startups as well is to stimulate the people at home with their notebooks to think about things. I'm not really a teacher, but I've got a lot of experience. Absai has also got experience in small business, and he's also been sitting here the last 10 weeks, so he should have learned something as well. So you can criticize us online and send messages, but what I say is what I've learned over the years, and if I get something wrong, tell me, but it's basically experience. So we're sharing that, and hopefully the neurons in your head kind of like connect, and there's a flash of light and something happens that improves your business or gives you an idea. So that's kind of like, that's my get out clause if I say anything wrong. But it's also to be a bit more humble, that it's not all facts, but it's about our experiences. Yeah,
and also maybe just to share that, of course, Startup Namibia and or Campfire series, it's really about, it's a show where we share information from experts in the field, and as well as from people that are already starting up. So all ideas are welcome. So please take us through.
All right, so at the top, now it's the first time we've used our flip chart, I think, is it, in these series?
Yeah,
so I hope you can see it at home. Yeah. But Absai's promised to type this up tomorrow and make it a presentation. Now he's committed, so I'll work with him to tidy it up. But it just are prompts to help us, and if you can read it at home, then it's fine as well. My handwriting's not brilliant. I should have maybe been a doctor, but we can see, I'll talk to all of the points. So we've got a love heart there, because partnership is a bit like a marriage. Yeah. All of the YouTubes that you will download about partnerships, they always talk about the marriage as well and how it's as important. But then I thought, why talk about partnerships first when you might just need a mentor? So let's talk about mentoring first. Right. I think the first point is, like, as Absai is a mentor for young people, and I've done so in the past as well, we're always around to give advice. We've general experience, although you could be a specialist as well. And we should be discreet. Like, if I'm sharing business ideas with you, I don't expect you to go to Joe's Beer House and tell everybody about my idea.
That's actually wrong.
Unless you take me to Joe's Beer House, we tell everybody together. Yeah. But then, and also the advice is free, generally speaking. A mentor is looking after you, he's looking after the sector. Maybe you're new to the sector and you don't think you're particularly competition, but you want to grow the sector, then he's trying to help you. Or as Dalia Muir said the other week, maybe you're a veteran and you're helping a younger person that doesn't feel threatened. So, but there's also a disadvantage to mentoring, is the fact that it's kind of, as we say, it's for free, it's kind of like a favor. Even however philanthropic the person might be, they might not always be available. So the time when you need them and you phone them up, they're like, yeah, but Absai, not now. What's going on? So and then they might think you're onto something, and they might start charging, and you never thought that. They might start saying, yeah, don't you think my advice is worth a bit more now, or whatever. And the other thing is, they're not really responsible for the advice that they give. If you are in the bar and they're giving you all sorts of advice, you're not going to sue them afterwards, because they've just got a mentor role. I don't know if that's accurate to the people at home, but at the end of the day, I would be nervous as a mentor to lead people astray, like into too much risk, but also as a business person leaning on a mentor, I would also be worried about if they're going to really risk much for me. So they're not responsible enough as, let's say, a paid consultant, or coming on to who your business partner might be.
Oh, yes. The exciting part.
Well, we'll see. So what I've got here is some basically not really what you think is a partner is just somebody you knew before, you have a common interest, you register a business together and it's Absai and Martin CC.
Yeah.
That's what most people just think. But there's a reason why you partner up, not just because we're buddies. And that might be a reason not to partner up. Do we value our friendship in case the business goes wrong? Did we consider that? So let's say a business partner could be an investor. They could be, like I say, are they bringing skills or are they just a quiet investor? Are they involved in the business or are they just going to give you some money? And every now and then I phone Absai and say, how's it going? Are you going to pay me something back? It's not a big deal, but it would be nice to have a report of some sort.
Yeah.
And that's like a quiet or a sleeping partner, they can say.
Yeah.
I say quiet because you never know who's watching. They say sleeping partner, you get into trouble. But so a quiet investor is somebody who's not really coming to work with you every morning, but is just put some money in. An interesting point I found as well, or I know of anyway, is a product partner. And I was remembering Uama last week, who is Wing It, is it the chickens and stuff?
Yeah.
So a product partner to somebody like Uama is a chicken farmer. So they are producing the chickens. She goes to them and says, I've got restaurants in town and I'm going to consume a lot of chickens. Why can't we partner up? Okay. And then the farmer has a steady customer, and also the Uama or whoever the restaurant is has made some sort of deal and consistent supply, local supplier, something to market. That's a product partner.
Okay.
So I don't know if I had any other examples. I put mechanic and spares. So you're buying spare parts and then you ask the shop, do you know who can fit it for me? And they always recommend you to one or two mechanics. Yeah. That's another partner. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a legal arrangement. You don't have to share shares, but it's still some sort of partnership. And if that mechanic does a bad job, you go back to the supplier and say, that mechanic you told me was rubbish. Then what happens to the partnership? Maybe it gets a bit dissolved as well.
Okay, so it doesn't really necessarily, involve legal, so you don't have to acquire legal or advice when you are forming a partnership.
I think you can do. I think if you're going to be in a business 50-50 or even 70-30 or whatever you're bringing, then you can formalize it. You can go to a lawyer and say, I want to be this, I want to be the two founding members on the CC, let's say, and you can have your name and you can have your share. I think the next bullet is actually more formal. You can have a financial executive.
Okay, great.
So Absai is the cake maker. He loves getting covered in flour and decorating cakes and whatever. But he's no good with money. I think we said that in the previous episode. But then he brings me in because apparently I am good with money. I can apply for loans. I know what funding vehicles there are. I can even do the accounts.
I'm good at writing proposals.
Yeah, exactly. And I might even be the one that handles the quiet investor. So there's another investor that's given the money, and because I know about the cash flow, and we'll come on to that later, I'm the one that does the talking. You don't have to confuse Absai when he's trying to ice a cake that the cash flow is healthy or it's not. So that's more of kind of like your business executive partner. And they could also be, like, as you get bigger, they could be looking after boards, looking for new talent. They could be doing marketing while you focus on what you enjoy, what's the creative part.
Oh, excellent.
And then the last one, although it's not really the last one, of course you can Google a lot and you can see a lot of YouTubes about partnerships and whatever. But this one is kind of like sharing an office space. It could be that that Helena and I, or Helena has an office already, and I'm looking for a small room, so we partner up. I give her some of the rent, and maybe there's even customers coming in for her that I can help with as well. So a sort of sharing an office or sharing a lease is also another form of partnership.
Okay.
I'm talking about partnerships now that you might not have thought of before. It's like, is it really a partnership, or am I in this place? Is my kitchen too small? Where can I go? I can't afford a big place like this. But I do know that Absai has a workshop next to his office. Maybe I can borrow that, and then we become partners in such a respect.
Great.
So there's that bit. Any questions? Absai?
No questions so far, but
I feel like ringing a little bell when we turn the page.
Yeah.
That's what we used to do when we were kids. So then the next part is really about solving partner problems, because we've already identified when and how maybe you might need a partner, and I think people at home, everybody streaming, can understand the risks of going into business with your spouse, maybe, because it's just too much stress, that you have all these other things to share. A best friend you might not want to lose, even though you trust them. Somebody that you hardly know, you don't really know, but you're never really sure of the characteristics that are coming up until you get into that kind of, that big order comes in, you've both got to put your shoulder to the wheel, as it were, and then one of them disappears and he goes drinking and he doesn't come the next day or the day after, and you're carrying it. That's when the problems come, and that's where we've broken our heart here, unfortunately. And there I've borrowed a triangle from a guy called Patrick Bet David. You can Google and YouTube him. I hope he doesn't sue me for borrowing this, but I think he got it from somewhere as well. Anyway, it's kind of common sense.
Yeah, it's sharing information.
At the top of the triangle, or maybe at where the cracks start, are the fact that you and I, as business partners, we start ignoring the results. Things are starting to go wrong, but we're just ignoring it. And that's basically an avoidance of accountability. We're both accountable for something. We maybe already have, okay, I've written it later, but we already have like a policy, or we've addressed things that we've said we're not going to do this to each other.
Sorry to interrupt. Does that mean now that's a written agreement?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be something that you both sign and pin on the wall, and whenever things get tough, I point to it and say, Absai, look, we both agreed to this. It's like our marriage vows. So we've basically got some sort of agreement, but that accountability we've started to avoid. Or we've got a distribution of labor. You're the creative one, I'm the finance one. But I'm not doing the finances, there's no flour in the cupboard, I didn't go and buy anything. So I'm avoiding my work, but you're still trying to do yours. It's going to lead to friction. And one of us has a lack of commitment, and the other one, or maybe the same one, is fearing conflict. And most of the problems in business is when issues aren't addressed early enough. So it gets time to simmer, and that's why it's also an interesting point about wedding or marriages, because they can simmer for years and years and the pot boils over. And it's the same with business, that you kind of ignore it because you don't want things to fall apart. I'm invested in as much as in myself as Absai. If you leave the business, my house could be repossessed if you leave, and vice versa. So we get a bit scared about that. But the fear of conflict, scared to discuss the tough stuff, we need to get over it. And at the end of the day, the whole pyramid is built on trust. And I quickly wrote, actually, this afternoon, to address it early. The trust issue, we both trust each other. We trust each other to bring up problems maturely and early, and just to solve things. And if it's early and there's going to be a split, then it's better that split happens early, and not when it's a long way down the line, and we don't talk to each other, and I'm outside his house at night letting his tires down.
And there's still so much to lose, because you already started business.
And there's a lot to lose. In our pyramid, the pyramid's base is all about the trust. So, and as we said, you could have a written policy at the beginning. Everything's roses and beautiful at the beginning, so that's when we sit down and we write, if you ever don't turn up at 8, if you ever want to go on holiday and don't come back the week later, if you ever, and then we can have it as a policy on the wall, or as you say, you could legalize it as well.
Okay, great.
So then it becomes like a contractual arrangement with each other. And I think you've had other guests, maybe from BIPA, and about registering your business with partners. So I'm not the expert on the legal side of it, but you can definitely take steps to legalize your partnership. Definitely, if you have shares, you've both put certain amounts of money in, and you want to extract yourself, you should be able to walk away with that, or you have to buy out the partner. Those are a bit more technical. You can leave that to another guest, but those are options.
We're also getting a comment here from Loise Katanga. She's saying transparency is also important in partnership. Do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere between. Where is it? It's somewhere between these two, maybe, is your commitment, transparency, you're open, you have to be honest that I'm having some issues at home, so I'm not in for the next 2 weeks. Can you carry? Then that's also being honest and open and fair to your partner.
Excellent. Now, let's say we formed this partnership, but now problems start arising. And so, in your opinion, how do you, maybe we didn't have a legal, we didn't put it on paper, it's just a word of mouth that, let's partner up, let's do business, and we're all excited. Now problems are coming up. In your opinion, how do you advise that, we solve these issues, especially with trust?
I think it's either you have to talk it out yourself, but then you need a mediator of some sort, whether it's a professional mediator or somebody who knows you well, somebody who was there on the opening day of the business, who wished you both well, and now they see you fighting. Maybe they can bring you back together, or they can work between you. But probably you do need to bring a third party, whether it's a friend or a professional person or even one of your customers. It's like, hold on, what's going on? I'm buying from you and now you're fighting. You're crazy or what? Because like you're onto a good thing here. And then you basically maybe that customer shakes some sense into both of us and we stop being stubborn and we start getting on again. Or we just rewrite whatever it was we said at the beginning. We just revise our duties to fit how the pressure has grown on each other or on one of us and not the other. Or maybe we decide to take on employees who can relieve the pressure or something like that. So I think probably like if you had a very good relationship with one of your customers that can see you both working, that's a nice mediation to have.
Excellent. All right. Now, is there maybe anything else that you would want to add on?
I don't think so, because I'm desperate to get on to the next part, even though it's a bit tough topic. But I think the partnership stuff is really you have to look inside here. That's why it's broken open. To heal it up, you have to see who's your partner going to be in the first place, and whether you can really manage the stressful times. Maybe you need to go camping together or something first. Maybe you need to do whitewater rafting and see how you fight with each other in a stressful situation.
Okay, great.
That's why I'm looking at that comment now. It can take a toll on relationships. It's absolutely. So maybe you should test it first. It's like we're going into business together, but let's go on a hike. Let's do Fish River Canyon or something and see if we both come out alive at the other end.
Excellent. Now also, just before we take a break, because we're gonna dive onto the next topic now. I just want to quickly tell our viewers about the programs we are running at the moment. Something very exciting. That's the Future Females program, which is in partnership with Startup Namibia. So. The applications for Future Females Business School are open. It's supported by Startup Namibia. And if you are interested, and if you are a Namibian female entrepreneur and with an idea or an early stage business, you are welcome to apply. And also passionate about innovation and the use of technology. And also looking to create a positive social impact and benefit your community. To sign up, you have to sign up. Sign up is for free. It's a 10-week course. So who would want to sign up for free? So that's actually a good thing. So you sign up for a 10-week course for Future Females in partnership with Startup Namibia. This program will support 20 Namibian females and also female co-founders. That's female co-founded startups and to support their businesses. The program gives you entrepreneurial skills, dedicated coaching on how to apply for this, I beg your pardon. So it's dedicated to coaching on how to apply this apply your business and the opportunity to connect with other female entrepreneurs walking the same journey as you. So if you are interested to apply, you go to our social media platforms. That's Startup Namibia and also Future Females Windhoek. You'll find the details there and the link where you can click and apply or sign up. Deadline is 13th of August this year. So yeah, that's it. We'll take a break.
Hi guys, welcome to my third DIY 2-Minute Tuesday video. If you watched the last video, I know I promised you guys something that had to do with plants, and I am so excited that I finally got to do this. I am creating a garden on the table. The inspiration from this came from Garden in a Box, and that is normally your solution if you live in a complex or a flat, or you don't have like a garden where you can actually feature your plants. This is one of the cutest things that you can do to just create something beautiful. What I have done is I got some pine wood, and you can see this one is natural. So what I did with this one, I whitewashed it. I put the plastic on, the black plastic, so that it can protect the glass that's at the bottom. This is actually a shower door that I put in here, but anyway, I framed this in order for the stones not to fall out, and I used this little staple that I also got at Pupkewitz Mega Build, some stones that I got from Pupkewitz Mega Build gardens as well. So let's begin. Step one, if you already have a table, good for you. If you don't, create a table effect. I've used a shower door. I put some plastic on to cover, to sort of protect the glass as well. Second of all, you want to frame your table, which means this is little pine woods that I got and I stapled together with the gun. Why you want to do that is so that the stones don't roll over. Technically, you're not going to be planting the plants on here, but you'll be putting them in the pot plants. This is just to give that really nice garden effect that you want to make sure that the stones don't roll over and hit somebody. Step three is just pretty much just layer it down. And then third of all you gotta do is just pour the rocks or the stones all over. Make sure that it's evenly distributed over it. And then once you're done, you start making little spaces for where you can put the garden. And then I'll just show you guys how I styled my garden on the table. So if you want more videos like this on how to just create a garden out of the box, let me know. I look forward to seeing you next time when I'm gonna do a squircle, which is a headboard design that I've done for bedroom number 2 in the White House. So stay tuned.
We're live, guys.
All right, welcome back this is episode 10, Campfire series. We are joined by Martin Wilkinson. He's just unpacking what really partnership and how to do pricing or accurate pricing and costing. So before we move on to the next comment, or before we move on to the next topic, we will just quickly go through the questions that we got from our first topic here on the chat. So, okay, so that's.
Okay, I think the first question anyway, while it comes up, because we had a quick look at it in the break, was about like identifying terms of references, and I think it's good. So basically, okay, continue with that one.
Right, so that we have a question from Comfort Ajibola. I can't see clearly, but yeah, Comfort Ajibola. How do you handle conflict better? And because most of the times conflict breaks down communications and eventually that business and relationship. Yeah, so she's really just asking how do you handle, which we already I think talked about, but maybe you wanna run through quickly.
I think it's still a kind of a start right policy. If you've got maybe In fact, one of the other questions precipitated my answer that I wish I'd said it earlier, is the fact that everybody is used to having a job description. When you apply for a job, you have your duties. Especially in Namibia, job descriptions are like 4 pages. It's always astonishing in Namibia how long job descriptions are. It's like you're running the whole show, but you're the driver or something. But I think those job descriptions are there. You're expected to do something, and you are basically an employee of the company. Don't forget the company's like a third entity. There's you and I and the company. And neither of us are more important than the company. And in later sheets, we'll also see that it's treated as a sort of a different entity. So I think that company employs you, and the company expects you to behave in a certain way. And it's not personal between myself and Absai. It's personal between the company and whoever is misbehaving.
Contract,
So I think a contract, a job description, and a policy about conflict and having arbitration are all ways to try and solve it. And I think possibly that dealing with the company as the entity that employs you takes the heat out of you and I as well, or whoever's having the conflict.
All right. Another question or another comment from Elizabeth. Another question from Elizabeth. Terms of reference should be clearly stated in a partnership. So I think you already made that.
That's where I was cheating, because I was reading Elizabeth's comment
already,
earlier and then pretending it was mine. I apologize, Elizabeth. I won't do it again.
All right. For the rest of the questions on this first topic, we will take them as we go along. So maybe we can already move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Which
now
is,
we have to hold on to our hats a bit and go back to school, because I was invited to talk about costing and pricing, but then I realized when I was trying to create the presentation that there's a lot of terms in costing and pricing that are about accounting. And we have to run through accounting procedures first before we understand where we get to the costing and pricing component. So if you don't mind, we're going to work through quickly, I think in about 10 minutes, income statements, balance sheets, which is your assets and liabilities, cash flow, and a cash flow statement, which is how money's coming in and out of the business and how liquid you are. And I know my colleagues, one of my good friends, Mr. Leswani, he's always saying cash flow is your king rather than anything else. I hope he's watching. He'll be smiling now.
Kennedy.
So, like I said, you have to hold on to your hat a bit, because it's stuff you can download. It's stuff that you can get YouTube videos on. And there's a lot of different terminologies, but if you're starting out in a small business and it's quite a simple transactional kind of business, you're selling something, whether it's a service or a product, or you're creating an environment like a restaurant, then you'll basically have these 3 different things. And the point about this is that it's important to start recording things early. Information is king. All of your expenses are very important. All of the receipts you keep are important. You might not think they are at the beginning, but once you start building them up, you start building your records, then it becomes important. And you might see, okay, the first one is income statement, and this one shows revenue against costs and expenses. So you're basically selling a product or a service. Okay, you're basically selling a product or a service, and you're getting a revenue. So I think I can jump straight in with that, basically.
All right. This looks hectic.
Don't be worried, it's not too hectic.
All right.
So let's say you've got a total revenue. And my point earlier was about to try and do this monthly. You'll always see that you'll get this income statement by your accountant at the end of the year, and it'll have all of your expenses for the year and your profit for the year. But that hasn't helped you see any trends. It hasn't helped you see where you're overspending or underspending, or even if you're recording enough operating expenses. So if I can go quickly, and I hope it doesn't confuse people at home, but like I said, you can watch it on YouTube later, and you can also Google the YouTubes that help you do it. But the income statement, profit and loss, sometimes called, starts with total revenue. So in a month, maybe you made $200,000. Lucky you, in a month.
Wow, that's...
And the cost of revenue is a direct directly tied. So if you were baking bread, the cost of the revenue is the flour and the yeast and the
flavoring
water
yeast.
even that goes into it. It's the cost of production, basically. And that gives you a gross profit. So we've got 200,000 there. The cost of all the flour and everything was 50, so we're left with 150.
Yeah.
Then you've got operating expenses, which are indirectly tied. So they are now your salaries, your rent, your rates. There's the flyers for advertising your bread. There's fuel. There's maintenance on your car. All of those things there. I couldn't list them all because every business is different, and every business will have a huge list, possibly. And that's why it's good to have maybe accounting advice, because they will find other expenses that you never thought of. So you can list those here. I didn't write them all to keep it tidy, but let's say that total comes to 50,000.
Yeah.
Now you had a gross profit of 50,000. With your operating expenses, you have now lost another 50, so you're down to 100,000. So you had to pay some interest. That's why it's in brackets, because it's gone out. But you also sold one of your old machines, which was an income. So that's net operating income or loss. You're out to 100,000.
Okay.
But then you've got interest paid, some other income. Then you had to pay some tax.
Yeah.
Maybe you're estimating your tax on a monthly basis. You won't know it yet. Maybe by September, when you put your returns in, and then your accountant has said you probably owe this, then you'll have a figure here. But you might be able to estimate it, let's say around 30%. You could tell yourself that on a monthly income statement, and now you're left, out of your $200,000, you're left with 63. So it's pretty healthy. You've paid yourself, by the way, here.
Yeah.
This is why I said the business is the third entity, because the business now contains 63,000. You don't contain 63,000, the business does, because you paid yourself something up here. Okay?
Okay.
So don't go running buying your BMW with that, because that's your business's money.
Business money, yeah. Just to inform our viewers, this chart here is really, because I see big figures, it's really not to confuse you. I know we are startups and we are just starting, so it's really not to confuse. It's just to get you in the form to really just understand. So we are sharing information, as I say, and it's also an educational show. So please do not feel intimidated. It's just an illustration purpose.
So when I was researching these on the net, they were talking about Delta Airlines and Google, and these numbers are actually billions, not millions.
Yeah.
They just write this, but really they say they're in hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So if you want to be intimidated, go to Yahoo Finance and look at the public records there. So that's one, income statement. It's pretty basic. I think a lot of people do this in high school anyway.
I'm not sure if I did
I've
that,
forgotten.
but
It's a long time since I was a high school.
But is it how important is it to the business?
Well, if you're self-employed and you want to go and buy a car, they'll want to see that, and they'll want to see this.
Excellent.
They want to see income statement. They want to see a balance sheet, because you're self-employed. Basically, you're buying a car. It might not be a work car, but they want to see how healthy are you anyway. It's not like you can show them a salary slip. So you're showing them the health
of your
benefit,
business,
what the health passport of your business.
Of your business, yeah.
So the second one is the balance sheet, and it's basically your financial strength. So maybe you started with some assets that you've transferred to the business, or maybe you've bought some already. You took out a loan, and you bought your stainless steel tops, and you bought your mixing machine, and you bought you're a plumber, and you bought all your tools and a van, and now you're off fixing toilets. So you need to know what are your assets, what things do you own, and you need to know what are your liabilities.
That's very important. Yeah.
Well, we all have friends that drink too much, and we call them a liability, because they're like, maybe start a fight in the pub or something, and they're like, Esh, that guy's a liability. Well, it's not that sort of liability, right? A liability is now something that you are owing money on. So, now we get a bit technical, but like I say, I have to move fast because the good stuff's coming later. So your assets, if you want, basically the things that we have as assets, because we're all employed, a car, a house, a furniture. Maybe we have some machinery. I've got a lot of tools and equipment in my garage. So those things are all assets. They're bought and paid for, and I own them. And I could sell them if I want to. So they can be considered as cash because I could always sell them. I can turn my cash into an asset. I can turn my asset into cash.
Yeah.
Then you have, so let's say we've transferred our cash that was in our income statement that was left behind after everything, and we've brought it here.
Yeah.
Now we've got net receivables. Net receivables are, we've distributed a lot of invoices to people and they haven't paid us yet, but we expect them to pay us. So that's what's coming into the business. And we've got an inventory. In your storeroom for your cake business, you've got all your flour, you've got sugar, you've got icing sugar, you've got a lot of eggs and milk and whatever. So every month or so you might do an inventory. And you've seen that maybe at Pick n Pay or ShopRite. Every now and then the shop is closed on Sunday morning because they're doing stock taking. Yeah. That's basically their inventory. So then you can add that up and you get to 183,000. That's your current assets. And I just said here, these are my red notes. Money owed to you is the receivables. Stock or material like your steel, your flour, your bed linen if that's what you're selling. And then I just had a note here that cash equivalents can be cash, it can actually be money in your tin, but it could also be other assets that can be converted to cash within a year. So you intend to turn your inventory into cash.
Into cash, yes.
You intend to sell it.
Yeah.
That's a bit different from what we're coming on to in a minute. So that you've got, I've written an A here, so that's total current assets. Then you've got non-current assets. Now is it like, I'm looking around the studio to see if there's some interest. Now, you've got property, plant, equipment, that's worth $200,000. So you've got your stainless steel tops, your mixers, your everything. It's worth a lot of money. That's $200,000.
Yeah.
But over a period of 4 or 5 years, you're going to have to replace those, and that's called depreciation. Okay. Now, there's better formulas for depreciation. But you must also always factor it in. You can depreciate your car as far as the tax is concerned over 4 years. You can actually do it faster, but you mustn't sell it within that time. But that's a different story. Yeah. But you can say that that's minus 40. That's why it's in brackets. Or I reminded myself with a minus here. So that's like non-current assets are your tools and equipment you're not going to be selling. They're not for your business, they're for production. So they're not expected to be liquidated. They're the value of the assets that, the value of the assets that fall is the depreciation. I'm sorry if I'm moving fast, but we have to get to all of these points out of the way, ask some questions, and then move on to the costing and pricing part. And then you'll see how it connects together.
Yeah. So to the viewers, if you have questions, you can just send them through to our social media platforms, and we will gladly take them as we carry on with the show.
So there we've got total non-current assets are 200,000 minus the 40. That gives us 160. Yeah. Okay. So those are the things we're doing our business with. That's the money that's owed. It's our materials, and these are the things that we open the door and we find in our workshop every day. They're always there, and we're not going to get rid of them in the course of our business. So then we've got A plus B, 343,000 in assets. It's nice, quite healthy, it seems, doesn't it, so far? Yes. Yeah. Now I had to go to another page for liabilities. So I carried 343,000 over. Those are all our assets. Do you remember? I just said it, but all of our flour, all of our machines. Okay? So now you've got liabilities. It's not our friend that's rolling around in the street. It's actually debts and money we owe. So we've got a current debt. Maybe it's an overdraft. Let's say a current debt is to be paid off in the next 12 months. It can't hang on and hang on. The bank wants it back. So we've really got to pay it. Then there's accounts payable. So we've got an account with Pukovitz, and we've got an account with Metro, and we've got Ever, and it's all around the 60,000. So we need to pay that back. It's also a liability. If we don't pay it back, they'll take us to court and sue us, and then take away our machines and things. Accrued liability could also be expenses not paid, but they're not really in a hurry for it. I can't think of a good example of that. You can think of one later.
Yeah, I'm getting lost in the terms, but...
All right. I can go. Current debt may be an overdraft. Accounts payable is what we owe. You remember in the previous sheet was receivable money. That's you owing me money. Now this one is my business owes you money. So that's accounts payable. Accrued liabilities could be something that we've on hire purchase, but we've spread it over so many years. Like it's another loan, let's say. And deferred liability is a bit more complicated. It's when a customer has paid for something and we haven't delivered it yet.
Okay. Oh.
So let's say we all bought tickets to go to Mauritius,
Yeah.
and we've paid for it, but we
Yeah.
didn't take the flight yet.
Yeah.
The air company has a deferred liability of this amount of money, of our tickets.
All right.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because if you're not with me, I don't know how it is.
I am.
So basically, Raven here in the studio, he ordered 10 security gates from me, and he
Yeah.
gave me the money, so
Yeah.
I can go and buy the
And buy the
materials.
yeah.
But I didn't deliver them yet. So if I don't deliver them and he says, "Well, what the hell's going on? You've eaten my money," that's still a liability. I need to deliver, and then,
You need to
then it
yeah.
becomes an income, and it's not a liability. Okay, so that adds up to 150,000. Then we've got some long-term debts, and we've deferred our taxes because we got in trouble a while ago, and we've like spread it over with the revenue office, or
Yeah.
we didn't close our previous business, and now we've got basically this total and this total. So these are non-current liabilities down here. They're not current, they're not to be dealt with in the next 12 months. And we've got current liabilities here, which we think we're going to solve in the next 12 months. Okay? I'm looking for nods in the back of the studio. All right. So now we have 270,000. We can have our assets, 343, divide by our liabilities, 270,000. And if that number comes to above 1, which it does, 1.27, we're quite healthy. If it's below 1, we're in problems because it means that our liability is greater than our assets. Okay? So that's the lesson there. And we should look for trends over the years. If you see 5 years of accounts, you'll see a trend, whether it's going up or down.
So maybe how would you pick up the trends? Is it something easy to?
Yeah, because you'll see if you download or you have 5 years of accounts of a company,
Yeah.
they'll have columns of
Yeah.
2015, 16, 17, 18. 20, up to 20, let's say, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you'll see that the assets are either getting smaller, like they're being sold off, and the liabilities are growing, like
Yeah.
you're taking on more debt. And then this ratio will change, and you'll drop below 1. And then if you're 0.4, that means you're owing twice as much here than here.
And that
Let's say
could be a problem
0.5.
for business, isn't it?
You might want to, even some of our startups, they might want to buy a business, and that means you need to look through the accounts. And if you're not that experienced, then you should get somebody to look through it for you, because you'll see the cars, you'll see the machines, you'll see the customers, but
But you don't
really,
really know
this ratio between assets and liabilities is a mess.
That's also a very good or very important point to have.
It is.
All right.
And if you're the only business owner,
Yeah.
this is this 270. Yeah. No, or the total assets rather.
Yeah.
This minus this, whatever that is, because I went straight for the ratio,
Okay.
is your total equity. So you still are not in big debt.
Oh, okay.
Now I think we'll have to go faster through this, but it's the cash flow statement. We've only got like 15 minutes left.
15 minutes
It's
left,
fine,
yeah.
as long as we can run over a little bit. So this looks pretty similar to assets and liabilities, but it's more about the cash.
Yeah.
And I can just go faster, I hope, without losing our viewers, that you've got our net income, you remember from the first sheet, 63,000. We've got depreciation, which now gets confusing, because even though we lost $40,000 on our machine, it wasn't spent as cash. We can still factor it in that we own it. We still have that money, even though it's being written off from the machinery.
Yeah.
It's still seen as part of a credit, let's say, somehow. So I've written here, depreciation is not a cash expense, and it can be added back in. That's probably confusing, but make a note to Google that. Depreciation and definitely amortization.
All right.
Amortization is an intangible asset that has a value. So you can't touch it, feel it, or sell it, but it's like your goodwill. It could be trademarks, it could be your patents, it could be a franchise agreement that I've paid Vorman and Brock so much money to run a spa, and I'm running the spa. That's amortization. It's like an intangible asset somehow.
All right.
You're getting worried about time. Absai is getting worried about time here, and so am I. So, accounts receivable, money owed to you. Assets, liabilities, or working capital.
Yeah.
Sorry, that means your assets minus your liabilities. So that we said was, we ended up at 270,000 plus. So we're healthy there. Then we still have our flour and our inventory. We still have some working capital because somebody paid their bills the other week. So our net cash operating activities is all of these added up, and it looks like a lot. It looks like we've got that cash somewhere moving around. Some of it's tied up in assets, obviously. So it's a car or it's a machine. So you can't count it and you can't spend it. Then you've got some things that you were doing with your money. Cash flows for investing. So you invested, the money went out. So what we did is we bought a lot of new equipment. So that's a minus 520,000. We also bought one of our competition. We bought a food kiosk down the road, and we thought it's a good idea to put him out of business and buy it. So we bought that. But then we had an insurance maturity. We had an insurance policy that matured, and it gave us $100,000. So I know I'm still going fast, but if you add these up, you get to minus 600,000, because you can see these two are minus. There's money that's gone out, and now you had 100 come in, so what the balance is 600,000. You also had to pay a debt of 100,000. If you add all those up, you would like to get to a positive amount. At the bottom. I ran out of room, so the bottom comes here. So you would like to be, A should be positive, let's say. If you add B and C, which are your investing and your debt here, cash flows from financing, which is a debt repayment, and cash flows from investing is money still going out, but you hope to make money out of these two later, but you haven't factored it in yet. So it turns out that 473,000 minus 700,000, you're 227,000 out of in the red with your cash flow. So that's why I wrote oops there, because that's not good. If you see a business that has that sort of problem with its cash flow, it might not last very long. So you shouldn't have done this, and you might have trouble paying your salaries, and you might have trouble up here with your net income because your operating expenses are going to be more. So I apologize, that was fast. That was income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, but I hope I've confused you enough to hit the computers afterwards.
We just got a comment. I think our viewers are still with us. Say we must keep going.
Thank goodness for that. Who's that? Luna?
It's Comfort.
Oh, Comfort, sorry. I was reading this in the middle name. So I know it's difficult, and what I want to emphasize to you guys is the fact that you need to kind of get used to these terms, but not get scared by them. They just have normal meanings. And
they all play a part in really in business.
Because I hope we can quickly go to like our demonstrations now. What I wanted to do was demonstrate four types of business that use these terms, but they're kind of different businesses. The first one, I really, it's not a pun, but I bit off more than I can chew because I've never run a restaurant. I've eaten in restaurants, but the first one is, oh, sorry. Let not me say the first one. Let me just do a quick overview. Net profit and loss, gross profit is minus labor cost and operating cost. So if you saw our first broadcast, or when I was here first, we were talking about labor. How much do you want to pay yourself? Labor is salaries, including social security, benefits, and possibly overtime. And we haven't spoken about labor much here. We spoke about salaries, paying ourselves a salary. Then we've got our operating costs, and you said I said I wouldn't write a very long list, but I expanded it here just so you can see a bit better. You've also got cleaning, you've got your energy electricity and gas maybe, you've got your Wi-Fi, you've got all the municipality, you've got vehicles with servicing and maintenance, and you've got very important marketing. So those are all your operating costs, and you need to record all of them. And you can get software, for free even, that will have them all, and you can delete the ones that aren't applicable to you, and you can plug them in, or you can even have drop downs where you click and it will drop down and you choose it, and then it'll create the sheet for you.
Right. We also getting a comment here quickly. Is Elizabeth? It's very an informative discussion, and we need. Or it's a very informative discussion indeed, and some SMEs are not aware of all of the important part of the business. So if you want to get this presentation, you can just drop us an email on hello@startupnam.org, and then we'll gladly forward it to you. All right, we're running out of time, so maybe we can
we're being shown signs of 5 minutes, and I'm doubting. So I've skipped the sheet on restaurants because calculating food and overheads and profit, I did it this afternoon myself from what I know, and it looks very complicated. If we still have time, I'll go back to it. So restaurants and food, maybe you have to look up yourself, but there's a lot of information out there about it. Yeah. But I was quite pleased with myself, the formula I did, but it's also in the public domain. It's not really rocket science. Okay. But I thought I could do this one quicker because a lot of our SMEs want to produce a product. And I think we import so much into Namibia, there's a lot of products we can produce here. Yeah. What I chose was a security gate. You can see that. Probably we all have something like that in the front of our house. It's got steel bars and it's got a lock and it's got 2 hinges. So I said here, keep records when developing your prototype. Even if you're making different types, even if you're making different types of security gate, you should always keep your receipts, and you should always be calculating how many times did I weld here, how many times did I use a grinder, how many times did I drill a hole and use a drill. Even if it's on a chalkboard in your garage or workshop, just note it down, because otherwise you'll never know how to calculate the labor or even materials. Okay. So that's also plays a big part in pricing and costing. Absolutely. Okay. So let's unpack it quickly. The security gate is made of steel tube. Now I apologize I chose this, but I could do this very quickly. If it's soap, I have no idea how to make soap. And if it's cake, I'll probably burn it. So let's move on with a security gate. All right. So we're going to use steel tube. This is our materials list down here. This is a cut-off list. So we're going to cut off so many meters of steel tube for the different components. We add them up and we get to 15 meters, and we know that 15 meters of 25 by 25 millimeter steel tube is $20 a meter. So that comes to like $300. So in fact, they only sell steel by 6 meter lengths. So you need to go and buy 3 lengths to get to 18 meters. 3 6s are 18. Okay. And you'll have a bit left over. But then a bit left over you'll use for the next job, and you'll make more money. So at least we know that the steel is 300. Then we're going to buy a couple of hinges. Then we're going to buy a lock. Now we're going to start machining stuff. We're going to start cutting things. So we shouldn't ignore the fact that we're going to have a few saw blades. We're going to do some welding. We're going to use welding rods. We're going to use our machine that we need to charge out to the job as well. And we need to make a price for that. And we need to paint it eventually. Yeah. So we add all those up where we're costing our welding rods. Yeah. Like if I'm welding here and here and here and here and here, you might not be counting. You just finish the job and your box is empty. Now what did you do? How many rods did you use? Are you going to buy a box of rods for every security gate? Or is it only cost you half a box of rods? So it really matters, or it's really important to take note of every little thing that you do. I don't know how many people know about welding, but if you have that little stubby bit at the end of your rod, put it in a pot and count it at the end, and then you don't have to worry about it. That's even good. It's that serious, guys, that a box of 100 rods costs $280, so each rod is $28. It could be that serious. All right. You see what I mean? It's getting down to the detail, but you should capture the detail all of the time. Which is important, otherwise you will not know how much you're spending in that. And then, I don't want to spend time on the saw. The saw is a machine. All machines have so many hours, and then basically you can try and calculate the cost to rebuy that machine over, let's say, 2,000 hours of operation. Yeah. And this might take an hour of operation. So 1/2000th is what you're going to charge it. All right. I'm losing Absai here. I'm with you. So basically, the devil's in the detail. Record everything. Yeah. Now you've come to labor. Yeah. Now last time we were talking, we said let's try and earn myself $24,000 a month. If I work 40 hours a week for 4 weeks, that's 160 hours. So I get to $150 an hour. Trust me, you just have to calculate that.
Yeah.
And then our operational costs on the other sheet is $5,000. I'm working from home, I don't pay much rent, light and heat, etc. is going to be $5,000.
Yeah.
And they divide that by 160 hours, that's $325 an hour that I need to add to the 150. Now I'm at $181 an hour.
We're actually running out of time. Yeah.
So
It's
$181 an hour.
Yeah.
We're doing all of these things. It's going to take 6 hours. 6 times 181 is 1,086. Plus 2,146. Oh, sorry. 2,000 plus 1,086.
Yeah.
1,060 for the materials and the time.
Yeah.
You get to a security gate that costs 2,146.15 cents. It's going to pay you a salary. It's going to cover your costs.
Yeah.
It's going to buy you a new machine. You didn't lose anything, and hopefully you can sell it for that.
And then the business continues.
Yes.
Excellent.
If there's enough time.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Maybe just, do you have something to, or anything else that you want to add or wrap up with?
I think with the, because we only gave one example here,
yeah.
the most important thing is, as I said, the detail. You need to know how much you want to earn, divide that into hourly rates. Whether you're a lawyer, you know, lawyers charge by the letter, but by the 15 minutes or whatever. Whether you're a lawyer or a coal miner or a surgeon, you might as well break everything down into hourly rates. And don't forget all of these things, even your fuel, the things that are pursuing your business, you need to record them and charge for them, or record them as an operating expense.
All right. Just quickly to take a question from Loise Katanga. She's asking, how long is too long if my cash flow is continuously negative? When is the right time to expect a salary from my business?
Hey, that's a difficult question to answer, isn't it? Because it depends on your patience, and if you're getting into debt, how much debt do you want to get into? Can you see the light? Are you picking up customers? Is there some positivity, even though the cash flow is drifting, because you keep buying new machines? I've been doing that as well. I get a little bit of money every month. I buy myself a new drilling machine. Then my assets are growing, but I'm not actually getting any money. But don't forget, those assets are also considered as cash. So if you do your cash flow forecast, and you've got your assets and liabilities in the right place, you might be better off than you think.
All right. We unfortunately running out of time. Now, just to quickly run, Comfort is really enjoying our show tonight. That's how do you set clear boundaries? Is it by dividing the responsibilities? I think she's referring to...
Yeah, we're back to partnerships.
To partnership,
I think we kind of... I'm trying to think of something new to say, but I think basically if it's the whole case of job descriptions, I like the word boundaries actually, because you might start coming and looking over my shoulder about the accounts, and I might start going into Absai's kitchen and start making cakes. Then he says, what the hell are you doing? Making cakes when you should be doing the books. Maybe those boundaries need to be set so you don't start crushing each other's creativity. And if you want to make cakes when you're the bookkeeper, then make them at home.
I wish we can have more time to really unpack this interesting
I did so much work this afternoon too. There's more pages.
Unfortunately, time is up, and we just to wrap up, I also want to tell our viewers about one of our current programs. It's NYC or National Youth Council of Namibia. They are currently having a equipment aid grant, which is ongoing. So to apply, you need to be a Namibian between the ages of 18 to 35. The business must be supported, by a young person, or a young person must own 51% of the share. the business must be registered and must be in operation for the past 6 months. Yeah, the deadline to apply is 24th of August this year. And if you want to learn more or see more of the details about this equipment aid grant, go to nyc.org.na. I repeat, nyc.org.na, and then you can learn more on or know more on the details or the requirements for this equipment aid grant. And I think it's a good initiative. So to all our viewers, please go to that website and really just check. Maybe you qualify, and all the best. This show and the whole program is it's under Startup Namibia, which is a project funded by the German government, implemented by GIZ with the partners, which is Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. Ministry of Industrialization, Trade. Yeah, it's Ministry of Trade and Industrialization. I beg your pardon. With other partners like Ministry of Education or Higher Education and Innovation. So the program or this project is really to help startups build their or start from an idea to really doing a business, and that's what we really intend to do. And if you have ideas, just reach out to us at hello@startupnam, or you can also go to our website and reach out to our social media platforms. We are live 24/7. We'll gladly take your questions and assist you where we can. Unfortunately, that's it from us tonight here in studio. From all of us here and the rest of the crew, good night.